Hey, what's up guys? This is Jonathan David and welcome to my channel. This video I'm going to talk about a question that I get from time to time from my friends and acquaintances, and that's really kind of what advice would you give for somebody that's looking to get on the right path of going for financial independence and being successful in the terms of how we define it in today's society. It's one of those questions that I think is kind of hard to answer, mainly because sometimes I don't feel like I'm the best person to necessarily give an answer, especially when there's so many other people that define success in a variety of ways, because not everything is financially motivated. But, at the end of the day, all of us, I think, are striving towards wanting to leave the world in a better place than we started in it. And a lot of times, that's really about putting your best efforts into activities and passions that are of your own choosing. So, and how do you get to that point is really kind of where you have to view finances as a tool as opposed to kind of the end goal, right? I mean, most of my videos talking about finances is really a mechanism to how to achieve the state to do the things that you think are the most valuable use of your time. So when people ask me that, I kind of have this in mind. It's also something that's a little humbling because, oftentimes I feel like I'm learning continuously and trying to learn from others about how to do this. So it's not an easy question, but if I were to give some tips and pointers, it'd come down to these kind of factors. And the first thing is, and this is something that I think more people need to be aware of, is when you're first starting your career or part-time job or whatever, the biggest deal is about saving as much as you can as early as you can. When you define wealth, most people think of if you have a high salary, if you're making six figures or even more, that you're rich. If you have that nice car, that nice house, and all these kind of things. But if you're living paycheck to paycheck, even if you have that high salary and making minimum payments on your credit cards and all that kind of stuff, I would argue that's not really where you want to be. You really kind of want to be able to save and be able to invest in that. So, I'd much rather see somebody that makes $50,000 but is able to save $20,000 of that versus making $300,000 and saving none of that. So, if you look at some of my past videos where we talked about compound interest and kind of the powerful effect that it has, being able to save any sort of amount over a long period of time is going to be very beneficial towards your financial goals. So being able to save as much as you can, as early as you can, is very important. And being able to invest it in today's day and age, there are so many awesome tools to being able to invest. You have since 2015 and on, we've seen an explosion of online brokerages such as Robinhood and M1 Finance. I'll leave some links below in case you are looking to join that. But there's really no excuse, especially now with everything kind of moving towards the buying fractional shares and everything being a little finger press away on your phone. There's no excuse. The barriers of entry are so much lower than they used to be. It's really, you really got to look about having this mindset of investing and getting away from that consumerism mindset. You don't need to be buying your $5 Starbucks every day. And as when you talk about compound interest, if you remember, each dollar that you spend is worth roughly about $8 in 30 years time. Those are really big expenses. So you got to start viewing things being 8 times more. Is that worth 8 times more than it is today? So is that Starbucks really worth $40 in today's dollars as opposed to waiting and having that? So that's kind of where you have to go. That doesn't mean not to enjoy your life. There is a aspect of, you are young. You do need to encounter experiences and do things, but oftentimes, you don't want to do that at the expense of your future self, right? So, but it's really just kind of trying to keep that useless shit that most people buy to a minimum. And, it's just like one of those things. It's just like, just be smart about it, be calculating about kind of where your money's going and kind of knowing what your bigger goal is in mind. Don't live day to day. Try to be very purposeful with your funds. So I would think that'd be my number 2 tip, would be to be investing, after you save, because saving alone is not going to cut it, especially if you're trying to be financially independent and to be able to enjoy the life and free up your time to do things that you want to do. The third thing is, it's really, most of the things in life is about taking advantage of your opportunities when they present themselves. And, this is really kind of a big thing. It's really, you have to look at kind of where you want to go in life and kind of how you're going to get there. If this means going to, university or college and getting that degree to get that job to kind of help towards the school in the meantime, treat it as a stepping stone, then do it. If it means starting a business, taking that leap of faith, do it. Surrounding yourself with all these different people and surrounding yourselves with those that have been there and have done it is very, very important. It's really, life's too short to kind of work at a job where you haven't really, you don't have your passion, or you don't have, the desire to want to go there and make the most of your day, where everything kind of turns into a blur. So, you got to be able to find your purpose, but you have to kind of go after what you want. So I would say embrace those new opportunities, embrace kind of any changes, and be always on the lookout for how to better your circumstances. So that's kind of where, even if you make a bad decision early on, I think the lessons learned that you encounter are very important. If it means, trying to start a business and failing, I think the lessons learned about kind of like, what's it take to get started, how to go through those steps, and kind of learning what not to do will only benefit you in the future, because when you'll already have that knowledge behind you, kind of how to best improve any sort of kind of next steps that you are thinking about taking. So I think that's a really big one. The next piece of advice I would really recommend is being very cognizant of who you decide to spend your time with. There's so many different people that are trying to have you spend time, but you got to be aware. Surround yourself with people that have been successful. Surround yourself with people that are motivated. More than likely, you are going to be who you keep in terms of company. So if your friends are, business owners, or, doing really well in, say, real estate, or have professional fields and are motivated and want to do all sorts of things, those are the people you want to surround yourself. And it's not just your professional life. It's really about even your personal life. You got to, hopefully you meet somebody, that your significant other, that's going to encourage you to be the best version of yourself as you can be. Because if you don't have that encouragement, it is so easy to not hold yourself to those standards that you wish you would embody. So, then if you, and likewise, if you hang around people that don't have any motivation, that, say have no desire to think about the future and only think about tomorrow, play video games all day, don't look to better themselves, mentally or physically or anything like that, then oftentimes you're going to be in that same kind of mold. So I would say this is probably the biggest one, and it's like something that we can all relate to, ever since grade school and up, is you really got to be very selective in who you want to spend time with in terms of your professional and personal relations. And this, because, they have so much influence on kind of where you're going to be and what decisions you make and where to get guidance. So I think that's really kind of the most important thing in terms of kind of where you get that encouragement and where you can get those opportunities. Next thing I would say, in addition to, saving, investing, keeping good company, as well as taking advantage of all opportunities that you may come your way, is to stay motivated. This one's very easy to kind of feel the effects of, not wanting to continue something because it's hard. There's a saying that, if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. And you really got to think about this in terms of kind of what goals you have. Nothing worth having is going to be easy, right? You're going to have to put in the time. You're going to have to put in the work and the effort, and you're going to suffer disappointments. It's going to be it's a slow process, but if you stay at it, it will be successful, right? So, success is a product of hard work, persistence, and opportunity. So if you keep at it, you're going to breed your own luck, and that luck is just going to keep opening doors for you because you know how to get through those rough periods of time. You know how to kind of keep chugging forward, and going from there. It's really a mindset of knowing kind of, you're so determined on kind of what you want to have done that it's very critical to just stay the course and to keep doing it, and staying motivated. It's going to happen with, when people are talking to, giving you criticisms. You got to be able to take that in stride, to be able to improve and not take it as a personal kind of critique. Oftentimes most people, it's so easy to get battered down and think that, any sort of setback means you're not on the right path, where in fact it could be, it's just a blip to get something even better. So staying motivated and hopefully surrounded by those that are good company that keep you motivated is going to be very important. So and the last one that I would very much like to pass along is you got to have that kind of servant mentality, right? You need to not be selfish. You need to be looking out for others. I really do believe that if you have others' interests in mind, you're going to be able to experience a lot of, I don't want to say good karma in a sense, but I think that mentality breeds a sense of belonging, a sense of like good nature that just comes back to you tenfold. So if you're looking out for others instead of yourself first, and you're going to get rewarded, not because of for personal reasons, but just because you are, you're doing it for wholesome reasons, and things tend to encourage that behavior. So I think do everything out of a greater cause, a greater nobility than necessarily just looking at like the numbers and finances and all that stuff, even though that is important, but you got to treat it as kind of like, what is the end goal? Is it to help people, or is it to just look out for yourself? So these are kind of some tips that I've kind of learned along the ways through my early career and my life so far. It's like, and I think it's a shame that this stuff isn't really taught in school. You're taught all these things that aren't necessarily related to being a successful person. But I think going back in time, I think if I could talk to myself when I was 18, 20, 25, I would really emphasize these points. It's like, don't be afraid of taking new chances. Save as much as you can. Surround yourself with those good people and stay motivated, and being able to take things as they come. So I hope this kind of video helps out with those that are maybe kind of thinking, how can they best kind of get out of their rut or trying to better themselves. And it's a challenge. Everybody's kind of, everybody's going through similar things. So I would say just stay motivated, stay positive, and I'd be interested to hear your guys's what you think would be something that I should add to this list, to be successful. But these are my tips, and I hope you find some value in it, and I look forward from hearing from you. Until next time, I'll talk to you later. Bye.